Okay, can't believe this one. Production under limited means number 4. Oh yeah, so I wanted to talk about one question that you may have come up in a situation where things are getting real gnarly, and that may be, I've ran out of nails, I've ran out of fasteners, how am I going to get things to hook together? Well, you'd be surprised, there's sort of been methods used over the years. I haven't sort of quite investigated them full on right now, but I will put links down in the description so you can see a couple of these little methods. And what it is they've worked out ways in the past, and I think this is in my Chinese mud brick building book about, they basically used to do mud brick walls, but they'd have a roof, and the roof would be held up by wooden framing that would all jam into each other, and there wouldn't be a nail amongst the whole lot of it. And this would sort of all jam in one to the other, and basically the weight of the roof would hold it in tight together, I think. But you got to think of these things sort of, the easiest way to think of them is as a noose, and like a choker chain for walking your dog with. The harder he pulls, the tighter the damn thing gets, and then he pulls even harder to get away from it more, and it just gets even tighter. And it's the same sort of a principle applied to fencing for animals, cows, pigs, whatnot, and framing for buildings. And they'd sort of put the the holes in the right places and the cuts on the right angles, so the whole lot sort of wedges together. And the more weight that's put on it, the better the thing tightens in together. Or they set it up smooth like that, and then they walk around and give it a bit of a thump with their foot or sledgehammer, and sort of force it all to push in as a pin. Sort of all pin in together, almost like a wedge. And that's one of the things that I should mention too is wedges. They're another great thing, and you're sort of thinking, well, yeah, so how am I going to use that? Well, it's simple. You get two things, in one hole, like two bits of wood in a hole in a larger piece of wood, and then you get a wedge, and you have made that by cutting something side on with a chainsaw or side on by hand, and you hammer this in, and as you hammer the wedge in, it sort of forces these two bits tighter into the surrounding wood, and then holds it stable. Hopefully your wedge doesn't come out, but the idea is that the wedge is also jammed in there extremely tight so that the whole lot of them don't move. And effectively, there you go. You used a wooden wedge to secure another piece of wood to another piece that's on 90 degrees to it, sort of thing. And the other old stunt is wire. My gosh, you can do anything and everything with wire. And round here there always seems to be flipping bits of wire everywhere. It's just the way it is in agricultural Australia. In rural Australia, there's just wire everywhere. I'm taking it for scrap metal because some of it's all torn out, but then I keep finding good bits that turn up, and I'll keep that bit for something, and I've got lots of bits and pieces here and there. But you may be surprised even that you can use that. If you're real hard up, you can actually use horsehair and plait that together and tie stuff up with that. And don't assume that human hair is terribly bad either. It can be quite strong at times. The other one is, I think they grab the bark off saplings, and they can use that essentially as to make up, sort of a rope. And then there's rawhide, which is basically strips of leather, which can be used to tie things up. But you'd be surprised at how many things you can, tie up instead of using fasteners as well. But yeah, I'll put some of these little methods in the description. And yeah, this whole thing of jamming things against each other at opposing angles so that they sort of all jam into place, and literally the weight above them holds them all in together. You know, it's an intriguing way of doing things with, you know, no nails, or, well, even if you're not very good at hitting nails, because a lot of people ain't good at hitting nails. You know, I only hit my finger once in the whole of doing up this house when it come to hammer and nail, but a lot of this house I did do with screws. But I'm not the sort of person that hits my finger easily, but I realise that a massive amount of people do, and so some of these methods will avoid using a hammer and nail altogether. But yeah, you know, there may be an option to make nails with blacksmithing, because also in the floor of this building are nails that were made individually, one by one, by blacksmith. You can tell them by their rectangular shape. And if you go into a quite old building as well, you'll also see rectangular nails. And, you know, that sort of may also be an option to actually make fasteners using blacksmithing methods, because it's been done, and that's how they were originally made before they started mass producing them. But yeah, that's something that, you know, may surprise you, but if you dig into a lot of old things and old methods, you'll find that it was actually very common back in the day to not use these things, because they sort of done all this out of well, necessity. I mean, they didn't have any other options, so they'd work out methods to do it. And all this stuff was really widely known back in the day, you know. And, you know, even in this book is from the 80s in China. I think it's 86 or something like that, or no, 83. Yeah, 83. And yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of these great methods that are sort of a dying art because of this mechanisation. But if trade wars or serious economic troubles like the ones that Russia has faced happen, you get forced to improvise and you work these things out. And back in the day, they didn't have this stuff, so they were doing it this way as standard anyway. So yeah, that's something. So have a look in the description and yeah, be surprised and amused.